Cool.
There we go. Alrighty.
Okay. Good.
So we're all set
Excellent.
here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, again, Coach Huegli, thanks for joining us here on the podcast. It's really great to have you on it. We'll kind of start off maybe with a little brief background of kind of how you got into the strength and conditioning realm of in the high school world. Your experiences maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Sure. I started off my professional career out of college. My intent was to become a football coach, and I taught a couple of years at high school in Hammond, Indiana, and then an opportunity to be a assistant happened, and so I went that route and added a little bit more background uh, into my football background. But I came out of that with a undergraduate degree in physical education history and then a master's education. Um, focused in the physical education area. Picked up a lot of the sciences and
Right.
so on and so forth. Um, was an athlete. I was more a track athlete, which I think had
Okay.
an interesting
Hmm.
perspective of it. Anyway,
Yeah.
the way I got into strength and conditioning, you can't do it the way I did it. It was at the beginning of the profession as a profession, and um, I was uh, uh, I was engaged to be married. My fiance worked at Wake Forest University,
Okay.
and connected me with an interview with the athletic director when they had a strength coach position open. And because I had a master's degree, I had a good football background. I had, a lot of the sciences, had done some strength training work as a grad student. He hired me. And so I was 2 years at Wake Forest as a strength coach early in the field. And we had a lot of success. Uh, our at the time, those positions became available because of football. And even though I worked with all sports, that football was the one that was really committed to it. And again, we had success. That led to an opportunity to um, coach at the University of Washington. And so I moved from North Carolina to Seattle, Washington, and became the head strength coach. I can't say I was the first one, but I was I was certainly the profession. The National Strength and Conditioning Association was brand new,
Mhm.
and I was a member of that in their second year. Anyway, it's 19 years as strength coach at University of Washington, and as it happens in coaching and at that level, things change. A lot of the culture of strength coaches becoming more and more tied to football coaches changed. And so when we had a football coaching change, that eliminated me, and
Mhm.
I didn't have an interest in moving all over the country to have some coach that couldn't win 6 games have me moving again.
Mhm.
And so I decided to stay in Seattle, and I did a little bit of personal training. I also got an opportunity to work in a performance franchise business that's no longer in business, Velocity Sports Performance. And I was the director of sports performance there. And we trained coaches, we trained kids from youth all the way up to adult, including professional kids. So a lot of speed and agility, and I kind of call it a lot of physical education.
Mhm.
So when that ended, position at Lakeside School became available, and I was fortunate enough to be interviewed and get the job. And so I've been the high school strength conditioning coach at Lakeside for the last 15 years.
Awesome. Yeah. And Coach Painter spoke very highly. He said that he took a lot of learnings that he, I guess, learned from you. And
Mm.
obviously, kind of when I talked with him in our interview 2 weeks ago, he kind of talked about how he, when he was coming up, he took aspects from every coach that he learned from and kind of implemented them into his teachings and his practice. Is there kind of like a teaching style or like a certain thing you try to go achieve in your program at Lakeside and then also at the UW when you were there?
Um, a couple things in my style, I think, uh, fits my personality, coach to
Hmm.
your character and personality. I think you coach to the needs of the program. Uh, at the University of Washington, the needs were driven by head coaches and the department. At Lakeside, things are driven by, I think, the needs of education.
Hmm.
And so, at the foundation of what I always believe in, that there's an aspect of education. There's a lot of education in what you do in the weight room, and the foundation for it is striving to have discipline, accountability, and work ethic with the kids.
Hmm.
And so, being a consistent coach and having some of those standards and um, is huge. I think at the high school level, um, it just Lakeside's a unique place, and academics is a high
Right. Hmm.
aspect, and you may ask me other questions as we go, but it definitely influences how we uh, maybe approach it differently than at a university level
Right.
approach to it.
Uh-huh. I mean, yeah, and then I know you also talked about how you kind of came into the industry through like track and you're kind of focused a little bit on the
Mhm.
track aspect. I know at O'Day we do work on a lot of speed and agility kind of at
Mhm.
the start of the workout. Usually, dynamic movements, all that, and then we kind of graduate into the lifts in the
Mhm.
second half of class. Is that kind of something you guys implement in your weight room as well?
Oh yes, sure, of course. In all aspects of the training, you want to speed always comes first.
Hmm.
So, I use the dynamic warm up. I mean, we used it even at the University of Washington, but the dynamic approach to warm up is complete body. We're teaching a lot of
Right.
movements. I think through repetition we can improve movements, and take the approach of generating a little more speed and quickness in the
Hmm.
nervous system. And yeah, we do that. We certainly I have in our schedule currently, a we meet 2 to 3 times a week, but we have
Right.
65 minutes, so that
Okay.
we're lucky to be able to have a little bit of time
Hmm.
before we go into the weights.
Yeah, and that's kind of similar. We have usually 2 to 3 days. We incorporate the kind of the microcycles, the mesocycles, and the macrocycles as well into
Mhm.
it. So kind of having those individual like planned out days, and then you kind of work into that week, and then you kind of round it off with the whole
Right.
thing. Is that something you guys also kind of do in there with like a schedule?
Yeah, I kind of, currently I kind of approach, more of a dynamic approach, movement, warm up,
Mhm.
uh, the first time through, and then we've been kind of measuring vertical jumps
Okay.
um,
Yeah.
each week, and then the second time through might be more athletic movements, a lot of variety of jump roping approach, trying to keep it fun as well.
Right.
Not every kid has the same athletic goals in what we're doing, in the way we're organized. We don't come in as a team,
Mhm.
particularly. Um, and then the second time we try to measure speed a little bit. So, you want to get good at something, you need to measure it consistently. So we kind of do flying tens,
Yeah.
and And then if they get a third piece into it, I like to call it foam roll Friday. So we do a little bit of that. And
Okay.
by that time of the week, many of the kids are beaten up or they may have a contest that day, that kind of
Right.
thing. So I definitely want them to understand aspects of recovery.
Hmm. And so like, yeah, explosive movements
Mhm.
versus like non-explosive movements. Do you guys also kind of focus on in the weight room? Like I know we've been doing a lot of like back squatting, but then we also have sensors on it. So we're working more on the getting the overall power out of it and then
Mhm.
the movement other than just, hitting the high weight and um yeah, the high weight. Is
Yeah.
that yeah.
Yeah. We, my mindset and certainly fits into Lakeside is these are high school kids, so everything is foundational and fundamental,
Hmm.
and we're developing, skill and confidence and a foundation of strength and power, and we always want to move the weight fast. We're gonna progress in as the year goes on into more explosive jumping and stuff like that within the strength program. Um, but a lot of our training kind of falls into the same pattern. I kind of set cycles up for the lengths of the sports season.
Okay.
So, and every season is every sports season takes the same approach, similar approach as far as the strength training. Will culminate with strength testing at the end of those, usually 10 weeks.
Great. Yeah. Um, and then how have you kind of seen like the change or the difference between, coming from the University of Washington into a high school program? Um, like the difference, I guess, of how they, I guess, structured their workouts, how they structured everything. Was it all kind of similar or were there kind of some elements coming?
Uh, um, well, if you're asking me what was it like when I came, they were fortunate. They had a pretty good strength coach who actually was aligned um, in his mindset, in his approach rather, very similar to me. Maybe he was probably a little more powerlifting oriented,
Okay.
um, um, but there was some pretty good structure over the 15 years. Um, he was also, they were a lot more team focused, a lot more football focused. And so that narrowed the pool of kids. And at Lakeside, since I've been there, we made a change where physical education is now offers a weight training class, and
Okay.
we get a lot of kids. A majority of our kids are in the strength training classes, and so which fits into the approach to how we're training them anyway. It just fits into that 10-week progression and
Mm.
stuff that we do. But um, different, we're an athletic performance focused training program. So we're gonna squat and clean and
Mhm.
push and pull and use everything you see in the gym. We will use it over the course of the week. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. And yeah, and then also like total so we incorporate a lot of like focus on one day total body movements and then kind of one day we do a little bit lower body movements and then
Yeah.
one day we do upper body movements and then we kind of structure that off of that. Is that something you guys also do or is it kind of just all
Um, at the university, we yeah, we did it all kinds of ways. At
Mhm.
at at Lakeside, um, we kind of do what I call a unified program. So we integrate. There's explosive movements in there every day. There's pushing, pull.
Mhm.
There's upper and
It's
lower body
okay. Mhm.
every day, every work.
Mhm.
It just changes from heavier to medium to light,
Mhm.
and variations of exercises. So um, about every 4 weeks, we'll switch up exercises, but we'll
Okay.
still work in the same intent
Yeah.
for what we do, and that gives a lot of variety and certainly having the dynamic movement piece as we warm up covers a lot of ground in what we do as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a key one. I've talked with a few guys and they all incorporate that. It's just a great
Yeah,
way to get that kind
yeah.
of, the blood flowing, get it all working, and then, eliminates injury.
Well, my, I, we have some athletes that we have a lot of movement is a skill, and we
Hmm.
need to practice it and get better with it,
Hmm.
and posture and alignment and I mean, I can see kids from ninth grade and when they come back into the 10th grade, they've improved. When they come back, and some of it might be just natural as they've grown into their bodies, but they've been introduced to skills, and and they've grown stronger, and so they execute um, so much better
Yeah.
over their 3 4 year adventure in the program.
Yeah, I found especially when we focus especially on like the fast twitch muscles,
Yeah,
doing the quick, starting, all
yeah,
that, the
yeah.
improvement that you can see even within like 2 weeks it's great because I run track in the spring. So
Right.
um especially coming back from the winter, and then
Mhm.
you're coming into the season and then kind of now working on the track a little bit, you can start to see, you feel a little slow and then you kind of come into it and
Right,
just
right.
progressively you can see it pretty much every training session, just faster and faster.
Well, and I think you probably are finding that your foundation of strength for developing power is greater this year than it was last year.
Right.
So
And
so you're also, you're able to stabilize in your skills so much better.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
And yeah, yeah. And that's what I think I find. I regard the strength right in an ideal sense. My hope and goal is that it's a 4 year construction project of the
Yeah.
athlete.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. Yeah, because we have zero period. So we have
yeah,
freshman year and sophomore year kind of
yeah.
switch. So, one semester will be one. And then this year's the first year we're really into we get a whole class for it. So we get it, every 2, 3 days, you're in there. And then I think I just need to get better at, getting in there after school, before school on the days that I'm not in there. So I'm there every day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
I know you kind of mentioned, testing, and how you guys test it. Do you guys test that kind of, I don't, are you guys on semesters, quarters?
We're on semesters,
Okay.
but I structure our training cycles for sports seasons.
Okay.
So we test the last week of every sports season before we
Okay.
enter
All
into the
right.
new thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And how's the training kind of change with, the sports that are in season, the guys that, are playing football at the time? How does that kind of the mindset change from when they're in the off season? Do you change much of it or is it all kind of
No, I mean, I we have so we don't train as teams per se,
okay.
and so many kids probably like at O'Day play a bunch of different sports.
Right.
So
Hmm.
some kids are uh, 3 sport athletes. The 1 sport athletes are probably playing club sports and they're playing year round
Right.
anyway.
Yeah.
So um, I kind of take the approach, and I'm working with maximum 20 kids at a time,
Hmm.
probably. Um, and I take an approach that we're doing the off-season training program most of the year.
Hmm.
And when they're into and it's key that the individual communicate with me, understand that I want to be their best for a
Hmm.
competition. So we we talk a lot, and I
Hmm.
offer them that feedback and information opportunity. And if it's a competition day or day before,
Hmm.
as they get to know their bodies, then it's just a reduction of volume
Okay.
and
Yeah.
drop sets, drop reps, uh, move the weight fast. I put a lot of responsibility on them to not leave their best in the weight room and and get that done. So yeah, that's kind of our approach, and that's a pretty good I think way of doing it. And I don't
Mhm.
get any negative feedback from kids on how that goes. But when they're, if let's say they're playing a basketball game on Wednesday, on Monday we're going to go hard. We may not go to maximum effort on squats,
Yeah.
but we're going to go hard on squats.
Mhm.
So that day, so yeah.
Yeah. And then I know you kind of briefly touched on it about how you've seen like the kids that come into the program, freshman year in ninth grade, and then how have they changed and throughout their course there, and then graduating in 12th grade.
Well, at Lakeside, so I've told you it's the certainly the intent, the thing that I enjoy about the work is it's a 4-year construction project.
Mhm.
At Lakeside, it's a challenge to keep them in a 4-year construction
Mhm.
project mindset. They have to be very highly motivated and have a lot of high goals for themselves as athletes to do it for over a 4-year period. Um, they're they get busy,
Yeah.
and you understand as a junior year, you
Mhm.
start doing college apps and
Right.
you got
Exactly.
so much going on. And our structure is they use free periods to come in and
Okay.
or before school or after
Mhm.
school, and their lives are so busy. So there's some inconsistency at
Yeah.
times with kids. And but you know, that said, I mean, then we have a lot of kids that play outside. Some of our baseball players, they're part of clubs, and clubs have some training opportunities to do.
Mhm.
So, I'm pretty confident that they're getting a lot of good work done. So to answer your question, um, if they're being an athlete is an important component of their 4-year approach, they leave um, they about the junior year, they pop, they explode. The boys
Mhm.
particularly, they become young men, and they're pretty strong, and they adapted and evolved. The work shows up,
Mhm.
and that has to do with that they've grown. I mean, sometimes being a strength coach in high school is easy because you're dealing with kids that are at the ripe prime of growth,
Right.
and whatever you do is going to help them
Mhm.
improve.
And
But being
then
consistent is the secret sauce.
yeah, definitely, yeah. With kind of progression, do you guys have like a kind of progression on, I guess, like starting out with front squats, moving slowly to back squats, or starting with one exercise and kind of graduating into a little bit more of like a complex movement?
Well, with squats, I do, particularly in the fall.
Mhm.
I kind of interpret that everybody's back to zero in the fall,
Mhm.
and so we'll do a big emphasis on split squats and front squats, and then
Okay.
we'll integrate, you know, full squat, but with lower intensity. And then we'll progress and we'll finally get to, because we'll test a back squat at the end of the term.
Mhm.
And that becomes our foundational. We evolve into doing that. And um, we do the hang clean. We'll do hang clean every workout. And but one day is a medium day, a hang clean with a front squat.
Okay.
Another day is the work day. Another day is very light, a combination hang
Mhm.
clean front squat push jerk.
Mhm.
And for some of our brand new kids, just learn how to be skillful with the hang clean. So
Oh man.
I'll,
Yeah.
I'll I'll tell them, and this is their goal. I want you to be skillful and confident, and you can nudge the weight along. And so that's my goal. And I don't, you know, for so many of our kids, I want them to be confident in the weight room environment, not feel pressured to lift a lot of weights.
Mhm.
Skill is more important. And when they start to get the hang of the hang clean, then okay, you can focus into really getting better at dropping into the front squat or
Mhm.
adding the push jerk yeah, to it. So, I mean, they get there. It's just be patient with it, and no
Takes
one's
time,
in a
right?
hurry. Yeah,
Yeah.
no one's in
Yeah.
a
I
hurry.
mean, probably I want to say like one of the more complex things is definitely getting the hang down, the hang clean down.
Yeah,
I mean, you can probably make or break the lift with just your form, really. It's a really
100%.
and it's an interesting thing because we do like I think we start with hang clean and then once you hit like 125% of your body weight, I think we move up to power clean and then we kind of
Yeah,
do like more of a power movement for that, for snatch, for all that. Do you
yeah.
know the kind of difference, do you guys kind of implement any of that or is it more of just strictly hang clean
Um,
or not?
our academic schedule changed after COVID,
Hmm.
and we're in a block schedule or an AB schedule, and before we were in a period 1 through 8. And anyway, when we were before COVID, um, I would see the kids in the classes for sure 4 times a
Okay.
week.
Uh-huh.
So that just offers more opportunity to do stuff. So we put snatch into it, but I just wanted to become really skillful at doing the hang clean. And
Mhm.
and and as kids get older, and if they are a real consistent kid, we'll I'll teach them, especially if they're interested, to to power clean. But
Mhm.
it's not a priority
Yeah.
for us.
Probably works a little bit more on the explosive movement with the hang clean. Well, you're not really at that static
Yeah.
position, right, with the hang clean. So it's kind of
No, no, if we can help it, we're not. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Uh-huh. Oh yeah, and then so with kind of like nutrition, do you guys kind of implement like a little bit of like a nutrition plan, all that to kind of help the
No,
kids out?
no, you know what I have to say? I was having this conversation with our rowing coaches yesterday. Um, no, we really don't. It's not a aspect that I deliver in strength training classes. And maybe
Okay.
as much as anything is I have so much inconsistency with some of our free period kids and such. So we don't do it. It might get touched on in our wellness classes for the ninth graders. I think it needs to be touched on a lot more.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
but uh, in fact, I know that it should be touched on a lot more. But no, we don't
Mhm.
cover that area.
Mhm. But at UW, I mean, obviously there's such a big team at UW or any college.
Yeah,
I know
yeah.
maybe you didn't really work exactly with the athletes on the nutrition side, but just strictly kind of on the weight training, all that.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of I was there a while ago, and um, over my time, uh, we hired a nutritionist,
Okay. Yeah.
big budget. We hired one
Yeah.
person, um, getting getting a bagel, some fruit, and some chocolate milk in a bag to give them to them after their morning workouts was a big deal. We couldn't supplement with supplements; we could supplement with food. And during my time there, their meal cards, they weren't given enough. Now
Mhm.
that changed,
Yeah.
as more money rolled into athletic departments. They couldn't pay the athletes, so they could build facilities, pay themselves, or
Hmm.
expand staff.
Yeah.
And and adding nutrition, and now it's slick. I mean, everybody, no one's hungry, and their plan. They have specialists that really help them uh, 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 eat for performance, and
Right.
and if they need special goals,
Mhm.
that they have that. So
Yeah.
that's that's where the big time and the luxury
Yeah.
exists,
Oh
in my
yeah.
opinion.
That's kind of what excites,
Yeah.
the high schoolers to come, to the programs, right? All the amenities, I guess
Oh
you'd
boy,
like to
yeah.
say.
And
It's
yeah,
it's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It is very cool.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I think 7:30, so I think we'll kind of wrap this up a little bit
Great.
here. Any last thoughts, kind of anything you wanted to mention? If not, or
No, I mean, I'd like to compliment your coach, Paxton
yeah.
Paper. He's outstanding coach, a hard working
Hmm.
young man who's very committed to giving his best to you all,
Hmm.
and yeah, I'm proud of what he does and how hard he works, and
Yeah.
um, I know that he loves the work that he does, but and you
Hmm.
get all of him. And and if you've had him on your podcast, then you know his
Yeah.
story of how
Oh
hard he's
man,
worked to get into the
it was
field.
it was
Yeah,
unreal. It was, yeah.
yeah,
I mean, yeah, and everyone at O'Day really looks up to him, especially all the kids that are in his class and stuff. So it's kind of crazy
yeah,
to hear his story and how he
yeah,
ended up here.
yeah.
It's
I mean, O'Day has um, a unique culture.
Mhm.
It's all boys school with a strong athletic tradition and history, um, and that's a big deal to and and that explains some of the differences between O'Day and other schools. And certainly the Lakeside, we have a variety. Sports is important. We're going to teach and coach you very
Mhm.
well, but we got a lot of kids with diverse interests.
Totally.
You know,
Yeah.
I just had a conversation with a young lady who got into a great school. She's a good rower, but she doesn't know if she's gonna row in college. So
Yeah.
she's moving on to the next thing, and
Yeah.
that's typical to a lot of the kids that go to our school. So
Yeah.
anyway, those are my
Alrighty.
thoughts.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, again, can't thank you enough for your time. It was a pleasure having you on the podcast. Yeah. It was,
Thank you,
yeah.
and congratulations on doing this. How
Yeah.
long have you been doing it?
Not that long actually. I've just
Okay.
started probably this past month really starting to send out emails to coaches.
Oh, very good.
And so I've got a decent amount of responses. I've got it kind of all scheduled out now. But I think it was kind of more of something that I have a big passion for, just fitness in general.
Uh-huh.
And then I know that the program at O'Day has really changed my life. I came in super skinny, and never really touching weights at all. So it changed how I live my life now. And but I have other kind of, I guess, goals for where I want to go as a career, not as much
Uh-huh.
in the I guess strength and conditioning role, but I want to be involved with that. I want to learn
Right.
more. And I think the best way to do that is, talking with, the guys that know it best, right?
Mhm.
And learning about it. And it's all really fascinating to me too, like how to structure, how different coaches run a different program, but yet
Right.
so kind of similar. Yeah,
Right.
it's just,
Right.
yeah.
Well, it sounds like you understand and have experienced what the weight room can give you,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's the truth. That's the truth.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
congratulations on that.
Alrighty. Yeah. Yeah.
Keep
Yeah.
it up.